Hi, this is a Micromastery looking at making a fire using a fire steel. So obviously you can light a fire using matches, but these can get damp or you can run out of them, or you can use a lighter, and again you've got the problem of the lighter running out of fuel or malfunctioning in some sort of way. So using a fire steel is quite a nice reliable way of doing it, and requires a bit of skill, but not as much as using something like a bow drill or something like that, which is really quite laborious. So a fire steel seems to make a nice midpoint between the quick and dirty methods and the more sort of traditional methods of making a fire. So let's have a look at a couple of fire steels first, and then we'll go on to the next bit. So these are two different fire steels of different sizes. The one on the right is quite a small one, and I find this is the first one I got. I find that a little bit fiddly, but it is quite well used. The one on the left is slightly bigger and seems a more convenient size, really. So I'll show you both of them in action in a moment. So using the little one, place it against whatever you're going to ignite, and you just, like so. This is the bigger one. The entry trick that we're going to use for starting a fire with the fire steel is to use something really reliable to take the spark, and that's something called charcloth. You can use obviously loads of different types of things, but it can be awkward to collect them, and that's your field for experimentation once we've had a go at this. But we're going to use the charcloth, which is carbonized cotton, so it's been burnt in a low oxygen environment to form this black material that really takes spark well. So we'll have a look at the charcloth in action, and then I'll show you how to make it. So we've got the charcloth, and you can probably, hopefully, see how that really glows nicely. So then you can put something more friable on top of it. I've got some, this is the inside of a bulrush reed mace, mixed with a little bit of bracket fungus, chips of bracket fungus that form a nice coal. This is bracket fungus. I just cut a bit off and cut it up. So just hold that down. So you can see how you can get a pretty good little hot core going, and you can add things to that. You saw that it started to take a bit of a flame. We'll get it to do that a bit more reliably in a bit, but see how the charcloth works. So to make the charcloth, we have some cloth, some strips of an old sheet, and a little tin. It's a shoe polish tin with, you can just see I've made a little pinhole in there. I'm going to pack the tin with the cloth so it's nice and full, nice and tight, and then put the lid on, and then we put it over a stove so it starts to burn. So I'll just pack it and then we'll put it on the stove and see what happens. So we've got the tin full of cloth. Put the lid on. And then I'm going to put it on the stove. So we've got tin on the stove. You can see that there's smoke issuing from the little hole now, quite strongly. And what you're waiting for is for that jet of smoke to gradually subside, and then you take it off the stove, let it cool down, and then you'll have your charcloth. So it's pretty much stopped smoking now. I've turned it off. I'm just going to let that cool down, but to start the fire I'll use the stuff that I made previously. So what you need is your base to make the fire on. We're going to just do it on here for now, and then I've got some different grades of material just ready so we can gradually build up the fire. Okay, so we're going to have a go at actually making the fire. Got some charcloth, got our fire steel. A good tip is to use the back of a knife blade. You get a better shower of sparks rather than the striker that comes with the fire steel, but either works. And there we go. Obviously you can just keep building it from there. So it's going quite nicely now. And just keep adding larger grades of material until you've got quite a significant blaze going. So yeah, got the fire going quite nicely there. Repeatability, pretty easy in the spring and summer months when things are dry. More difficult when it's damp. You can experiment with different kinds of tinder, different types of stuff to take a spark. You can get some dry grass, rub it on your thigh to break it up a bit. That takes spark quite well. It's quite handy to mix some very thin strips of birch bark in because it's very oily and burns really nicely and a bit longer. But yeah, lots of scope for practice, but certainly as a starting point, the charcloth is the way to go.